Elm's list type is great for getting the first element, working front to back, but it's not so great when you want to access a value at an index. Let's say you have an element at index 100. List would involve going through every single item before it could get it. So there's some other data structures in the Elm core library, like array, that's going to help with some of those tasks that you might be used to if you're coming from JavaScript. So let's take a look at that module here. Where we left off in the last video, we kind of had this list of names, but now I'm importing array, exposing array. There's this array data type. And what you can see here is there's also the ability, instead of having a name list, you can have an array of strings. So I'm using the array.fromList function here. We can actually play around with it some more directly in this Elm REPL that I have. There's a few ways to create arrays. You could say array.empty, and that just creates an array where you can kind of see under the hood, it's just an empty list. There's array.repeat. So if I want to repeat 10 letter A's, there you go. I've got 10 A's. You can put in whatever number you want there, make it 100, make it crazy, see what crashes your computer. And then you can also say array.fromList, which is what we are doing above. So I can do like, A, B, C, and all these things are, arrays. With this last one here, I've got an array of strings. Why don't we put that in a value? Let me just import main, and I'm just going to expose everything. So we have access to that name array that we see here. So the point of array is being able to use some of these convenience functions. Array.get, it takes in an int, which is the index that we want to get a value at. It takes in an array, and then it'll return a result if it can find one. So an example of when it can find one is if I try to get the first name for my array. That's going to be just Ryan. This is the same thing as if we're in JavaScript, if we said, Ryan, is it Scott Alexa? So if this is my array, let's say let array equal, what we'll be able to do is say array at 0. That gives me Ryan. This is the exact same thing that we're doing over here. We're able to say array get at index 0, and here's my list of, or my array of names. When you try to get something that's out of bounds, like if I try to access the 5th element, when I only have 3 elements here, or try to access the 5th index, that's when that maybe type's going to come in and return nothing. So just like we saw when we learned about maybes, not every index for every array is going to give you a value. So if you have an array that's size 3, and you try to access something outside of that bound, it's just going to return nothing. It's not going to crash, but it's going to give you that value, and you're going to have to decide what you want your program to do, knowing that there's no value to work with sometimes when you access by index. Another thing you can do is if we take a look at name array again, let's see what we have. We've got, Ryan, Scott, Alexa. You can do array.set, and you can say, I want to set the value at the 2nd index. So this is going to 0, 1, 2. This is going to get Alexa. And I'm going to say, let's set that to, who should we do? Nick. Name array. What this is going to do is this is going to return a new array as if you had done something like this. So see how array is Ryan, Scott, Alexa. What it's going to do is it's going to take the array as is, and it's going to kind of make like a copy of it. It's not going to be as inefficient as this, but it's going to take that copy, and then at the 2nd index, it's going to set Nick. But the idea is it feels like you're doing this, and it has the behavior that it's not going to modify the original list. So if we switch back over to what we were doing with Elm, you'll see name array is unchanged, right? It's just this new value. The result of the array after calling set is a new array. So you can still rely on the first array to have Alexa, just like you declared it. But if you want to, kind of transform a value over time, you can use the set the set function to do that. What else is there for array? Yeah, so in terms of performance, if you're doing a lot of like index, like sensitive stuff, definitely choose array. I don't find myself using this data type too often. The next two data types that I show you, I use a lot more, particularly dictionaries. They're really helpful because they're more flexible than records. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Why don't we cover that in the next section when we talk about the dictionary data structure?